In the 4th century, church authorities gathered in closed meetings to decide something critical: which books would be included in the Bible and which would be banned forever. They had before them dozens of ancient texts, manuscripts that had been read and revered by Jewish and Christian communities for centuries. Among these texts was the Book of Enoch, a detailed account written by a biblical patriarch who, according to Genesis, walked with God and was taken to heaven without dying. The book contained shocking descriptions: angels who descended to earth, mated with human women, and taught humanity forbidden knowledge, including advanced technologies, weapons of war, cosmetics, astrology, and genetic manipulation. The church leaders read these passages and made a decision. The Book of Enoch would be removed, banned, erased from the official canon. For over 1,000 years, it disappeared from Western civilization. Why? What was in this ancient text that made it so dangerous that authorities needed to hide it from humanity? And what does it reveal about the true nature of the beings we call angels? You are about to discover what they tried to erase. You will learn why this single book threatened the entire structure of religious authority. You will see documented evidence that the fallen angels were not spiritual beings, but physical entities with technology far beyond anything humans possessed. And I need to know, do you believe institutions have the right to decide which sacred texts you can read and which must be hidden? Or should you have access to all ancient writings and judge their truth for yourself? Before we continue, if you want to uncover the knowledge that religious authorities buried for centuries, subscribe to this channel now. Hit the notification button, because what you are about to learn was deliberately kept from you for a specific reason. It reveals too much truth. The Book of Enoch is not some obscure text written by an unknown author. Enoch was the great-grandfather of Noah. Genesis chapter 5 states that Enoch walked faithfully with God, and then he was no more, because God took him away. He lived 365 years before being taken directly to heaven, bypassing death entirely. This makes him one of only 2 people in the entire Bible given this distinction, the other being Elijah. Clearly, Enoch was someone special, someone who had direct contact with divine beings, someone whose testimony should matter. Yet his book, which details exactly what he witnessed during his time with these beings, was removed from the Bible. Does that make sense to you? The testimony of a man so righteous that God took him to heaven alive is considered too dangerous to include in Scripture? What could he possibly have written that was so threatening? The Book of Enoch was not lost to history by accident. It was deliberately suppressed. For over a millennium, the only complete versions existed in Ethiopia, where the Ethiopian Orthodox Church preserved it as canonical scripture. Western Christianity had no access to it. Most people did not even know it existed. Then, in 1773, a Scottish explorer named James Bruce traveled to Ethiopia and brought back 3 copies of the book. When scholars translated it, they were stunned. The text described events that contradicted official church doctrine about the nature of angels, the origins of evil, and the relationship between divine beings and humanity. It provided details that made religious authorities deeply uncomfortable.
And instead of celebrating this recovered ancient text, instead of studying it seriously, Western religious institutions dismissed it, marginalized it, and continued to keep it out of the Bible. Let me read you what the Book of Enoch actually says. Chapter 6 begins, "And it came to pass, when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children." The text then names the leaders of these angels: Semjaza, who was their leader; Azazel, who taught humans to make swords, knives, shields, and breastplates; Aramaros, who taught the resolving of enchantments; Barachiel, who taught astrology; Kokibel, who taught the constellations; Ezekiel, who taught the knowledge of the clouds; Arachiel, who taught the signs of the earth; Shamshiel, who taught the signs of the sun; and Sariel, who taught the course of the moon. Does this sound like spiritual beings to you? These descriptions are specific, technical, practical. These angels taught humanity technologies and sciences. They did not impart spiritual wisdom or moral lessons. They taught metallurgy for weapons manufacturing. They taught astronomy for navigation. They taught weather prediction. They taught genetic manipulation, which the text describes as mixing species that should not be mixed. This is not mythology. This is a historical account of technology transfer from an advanced civilization to a primitive one. And the text is explicit that this knowledge was forbidden, that humanity was not supposed to have it, that giving it to us violated cosmic law. Chapter 7 continues, "And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go into them, and to defile themselves with them. And they taught them charms and enchantments, and the cuttings of roots, and made them acquainted with plants.
And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood." Let me stop here. 3,000 ells is approximately 4,500 feet. Obviously, that is hyperbole or a translation error, but the core claim is clear. The offspring of these angels and human women were giants, beings of extraordinary size and strength. Now, is there any other ancient text that describes this exact scenario? Yes. Genesis chapter 6, which is in the Bible, states, "The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown." The Bible confirms the Book of Enoch's account. Fallen angels mated with human women. The offspring were giants called Nephilim. This is biblical fact, not speculation. Yet churches rarely teach this. Why? Because it raises uncomfortable questions. Who were these sons of God? Where did they come from? What happened to their giant offspring? And most importantly, what technology did they bring to earth? The Book of Enoch provides answers that religious authorities do not want you to consider. Chapter 8 states, "And Azazel taught men to make swords, and knives, and shields, and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth, and the art of working them, and bracelets, and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray,
and became corrupt in all their ways. Read that again carefully. Azazel taught metallurgy. He showed humans how to extract metals from the earth and work them into tools and weapons. Before this, according to the text, humans did not have this knowledge. We were hunter-gatherers using stone tools. Then these angels descended and taught us mining, smelting, metalworking, and weapon manufacturing. Does this align with what we observe in the archaeological record? Absolutely. Human civilization transitioned suddenly from Stone Age to Bronze Age to Iron Age. The standard explanation is that we just figured it out through trial and error, but the Book of Enoch provides a different explanation. We were taught. The knowledge was given to us by beings with advanced technology who chose to violate the rules and share it with us. Azazel also taught cosmetics, the use of antimony for eye makeup, the creation of dyes and pigments. Why would an angel care about teaching humans cosmetics? Unless these were not spiritual beings at all, but physical entities who understood chemistry and wanted to alter human appearance for specific purposes. The text suggests that these cosmetics were used to enhance attractiveness, to facilitate the interbreeding between angels and humans. This was not innocent knowledge. This was technology designed to corrupt and manipulate. Before I continue with what else the fallen angels taught humanity, I need you to do something critical. Share this video immediately. Religious institutions have spent centuries suppressing this information. They benefit from you not knowing the full content of ancient texts. They benefit from controlling which scriptures you read and which remain hidden. But knowledge is your right. Truth is your inheritance. Share this investigation with everyone who deserves to know what was erased from the Bible and why. And make sure you are subscribed with notifications enabled, because we are going to explore every suppressed text, every banned book, every hidden manuscript that authorities tried to destroy. Chapter 8 of the Book of Enoch continues with more technologies taught by the fallen angels. Semjaza taught enchantments and root cuttings, which scholars interpret as pharmacology and herbalism, the knowledge of which plants have medicinal or psychoactive properties. Armaros taught the resolving of enchantments, suggesting a knowledge of how to counteract or reverse these effects. Barakijal taught astrology, the observation of stars. Kokabel taught the signs and constellations. Ezekiel taught the knowledge of clouds, which is meteorology. Arakiel taught the signs of the earth, which could mean geology or agriculture. Shamsiel taught the signs of the sun, solar cycles and seasons. Sariel taught the course of the moon, lunar cycles, which are critical for navigation and agriculture. Do you see the pattern? Every single piece of knowledge taught by these fallen angels is practical, scientific, technological. These are not moral teachings. These are not spiritual lessons about how to live righteously. These are technical manuals, instructions for technologies. And according to the text, giving this knowledge to humans was a crime. Chapter 9 describes how the archangels Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel observed what was happening on earth and reported it to God. Thou seest what Azazel hath done, who hath taught all unrighteousness on earth, and revealed the eternal secrets which were preserved in heaven, which men were striving to learn. And Semjaza, to whom thou hast given authority to bear rule over his associates.
And they have gone to the daughters of men upon the earth, and have slept with the women, and have defiled themselves, and revealed to them all kinds of sins. The archangels are reporting a violation. The fallen angels broke rules. They revealed eternal secrets preserved in heaven. They taught humans knowledge that was supposed to remain hidden. Why? Why would certain knowledge be forbidden? Why would there be technologies that humans are not supposed to have?
The only logical answer is that someone or something established rules about what level of development primitive species are allowed to reach. And the fallen angels violated those rules. They accelerated human development artificially. They gave us knowledge we had not earned through our own discovery. And according to the text, this intervention had catastrophic consequences. Chapter 10 describes God's response. He commands the archangel Raphael, "Bind Azazel hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness, and make an opening in the desert which is in Dudael, and cast him therein, and place upon him rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness, and let him abide there forever, and cover his face that he may not see light. And on the day of the great judgment he shall be cast into the fire." This is not the punishment of a spiritual being who sinned through pride or disobedience. This is the imprisonment of a physical entity. Bind him, cast him into a location, cover him with rocks, keep him in darkness. Does this sound like mythology to you, or does it sound like the description of someone being buried alive in a specific geographic location? The text even names the place, Dudael, which scholars believe is in the desert regions of the Middle East. What if Azazel's body is still there, buried under rocks, waiting? God then commands the archangel Gabriel to destroy the Nephilim. Proceed against the bastards and the reprobates, and against the children of fornication, and destroy the children of the watchers from amongst men. Send them one against the other, that they may destroy each other in battle, for length of days shall they not have. The offspring of the fallen angels were to be killed. God commanded their destruction. Why? Because they were hybrids, they were genetic abominations, they were creatures that should not exist. And the method of their destruction is revealing. They were made to fight each other. This suggests they were violent, aggressive, designed for combat. Perhaps that was their purpose. Finally, God commands the archangel Michael to bind Semjaza and all the other fallen angels. Bind them fast for 70 generations in the valleys of the earth, till the day of their judgment and of their consummation, till the judgment that is forever and ever is consummated. In those days they shall be led off to the abyss of fire, and to the torment and the prison in which they shall be confined forever. 70 generations. The text is specific. These beings were bound for a specific period of time. 70 generations of approximately 40 years each equals 2,800 years. When were they bound? If we assume this happened before the flood, which the Book of Enoch dates to approximately 3000 BCE, then 70 generations would bring us to approximately 200 BCE. What if the fallen angels are no longer bound? What if their sentence has expired? What if they are free now, walking among us, and we do not recognize them? I want you to think about something. The Book of Enoch describes technologies that humans should not have had access to thousands of years ago. Metallurgy, weapons manufacturing, astronomy, meteorology, pharmacology, chemistry, genetic manipulation. Now look at human history. Civilizations arose suddenly, with no gradual progression. Sumer, Egypt, China, the Indus Valley. They appeared fully formed with writing, mathematics, architecture, astronomy, and advanced social organization. The standard explanation is parallel development, that humans in different regions independently figured out the same things at the same time. But what if they did not? What if different groups of fallen angels taught different human populations? What if every ancient civilization that describes gods descending from heaven and teaching humanity is recording the same event? The intervention of the Watchers, the fallen angels, the beings who violated cosmic law to accelerate our development. The Book of Enoch describes something else that directly contradicts official religious doctrine: the origin of demons. Chapter 15 states, "And now the giants, who are produced from the spirits and flesh, shall be called evil spirits upon the earth, and on the earth shall be their dwelling." Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies, because they are born from men, and from the holy Watchers is their primal origin. They shall be evil spirits on earth, and evil spirits shall they be called. Read that carefully. Demons are not fallen angels. Demons are the disembodied spirits of the dead Nephilim. When the giant hybrid offspring of angels and humans were killed, their spirits remained on earth. Because they were part angel and part human, they could not die completely. Their physical bodies were destroyed, but their spirits became demons, entities without physical form, seeking to possess humans, to experience physical sensation again. This explanation makes sense of every account of demonic possession throughout history.
These are not metaphors. These are not symbols. These are the spirits of dead hybrids trying to inhabit human bodies. Why was this removed from the Bible? Because it explains too much. It provides clear, logical answers to questions that church doctrine leaves deliberately vague. Where did demons come from? The spirits of dead Nephilim. Why do they possess humans? Because they crave physical form. Why are they evil? Because they are the offspring of a forbidden union, creatures that should never have existed. The Book of Enoch answers everything. And that precision, that clarity, that detailed explanation is exactly why authorities banned it. They need mystery, they need ambiguity, they need you to accept what they tell you without access to the full story. Hit the like button if you believe you have the right to read every ancient text and decide for yourself what is true. Hit subscribe if you want more investigations into suppressed scriptures and banned books, because we are not stopping here. There are dozens more texts that were removed from the Bible, each one containing information that authorities fear, and we are going to examine every single one. The Book of Enoch describes what happened after the fallen angels were bound and the Nephilim were destroyed. God decided to send a flood to cleanse the earth of the corruption that had spread from this forbidden knowledge and genetic contamination. Chapter 10 states, "And to Gabriel said the Lord, proceed against the bastards and the reprobates, and against the children of fornication, and destroy the children of fornication and the children of the watchers from amongst men, and cause them to go forth. Send them one against the other, that they may destroy each other in battle. And cleanse thou the earth from all oppression, and from all unrighteousness, and from all sin, and all godlessness, and all the uncleanness that is wrought upon the earth, destroy from off the earth. And all the children of men shall become righteous, and all nations shall offer adoration, and shall praise me, and all shall worship me." The flood was not punishment for human sin in general. It was a targeted response to genetic contamination and forbidden knowledge. Humanity had been corrupted by the intervention of the Watchers. The gene pool had been polluted by hybrid creatures. The technology given to humans had led to violence, warfare, and godlessness. So God decided to reset everything, wipe it clean, start over with Noah, whose lineage the text emphasizes was pure,
uncontaminated by Nephilim genetics. This is why Noah was chosen, not because he was more righteous than everyone else, though he was righteous, but because his bloodline was uncorrupted. Now, ask yourself if authorities accept the biblical flood account, and Genesis chapter 6 explicitly mentions the Nephilim and the sons of God mating with human women. Why remove the Book of Enoch, which provides the detailed explanation of that event? The only logical answer is that the details are too revealing. The complete story makes it impossible to maintain certain theological positions. If angels are physical beings with technology, not purely spiritual entities, then the entire framework of angel theology collapses. If demons are the spirits of dead hybrids rather than fallen angels, then the entire demonology taught by churches is wrong. If the flood was sent specifically to eliminate genetic contamination, then race and bloodline have theological significance that modern churches desperately want to avoid acknowledging. The Book of Enoch was preserved by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church for a reason. They recognized its value. They understood that it was authentic scripture written by a biblical patriarch. They knew it explained crucial events that the canonical Bible only mentions briefly. And while Western Christianity banned it, Ethiopian Christianity kept it alive. When European explorers finally gained access to it in the 18th century, scholars immediately recognized its importance. It is quoted in the New Testament. The book of Jude, verse 14, explicitly quotes Enoch. Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied about them. See, the Lord is coming with thousands upon thousands of his holy ones. That exact phrase appears in the Book of Enoch, chapter 1, verse 9. If the New Testament quotes the Book of Enoch as authoritative prophecy, how can church authorities claim it is not scripture? The answer is they cannot, not logically. The only way to justify removing the Book of Enoch from the Bible while keeping books that quote it is through authority, not reason. Church councils declared it non-canonical. Powerful men made that decision, and for over 1,000 years, Western Christians accepted that decision without any question. Because they had no access to the text itself. They could not read it and judge for themselves. They had to trust that the authorities who banned it had good reasons. But now you have access. Now you can read the Book of Enoch yourself. And now you can ask, what justified removing this text? What made it so dangerous? I will tell you what made it dangerous. It describes technology. It names specific fallen angels and details exactly what each one taught humanity. It explains the origin of giants, demons, and evil with precision and clarity. It provides a coherent cosmology that makes sense of the entire biblical narrative, from Genesis through Revelation.
And it does all of this without requiring faith in mysterious divine plans or accepting paradoxes. Everything in the Book of Enoch is logical, practical, physical. Angels are beings with technology. Demons are disembodied spirits of hybrids. The flood was a targeted extermination of genetic contamination. This level of clarity is terrifying to religious authorities because it eliminates their role as interpreters of mysteries. If the text explains everything clearly, you do not need priests to explain it to you. You do not need theologians to interpret it. You can read it yourself and understand. And that independence, that direct access to knowledge, that elimination of the middleman, is the greatest threat to institutional religious power. Subscribe to this channel immediately if you want to continue discovering what they erased. Share this video with everyone who deserves to know what was removed from the Bible and why. And stay with me, because what I am about to reveal next will change how you understand every ancient text that describes beings descending from the sky.
The Book of Enoch describes the technology of the Watchers in ways that ancient humans should not have been able to imagine. Chapter 69 provides a list of the leaders of the fallen angels and their specific areas of expertise. Yikon taught humans how to lead astray the angels and how to bring them to earth. Read that again. He taught humans how to summon angels, how to make contact with these beings, how to bring them from wherever they came from to earth. This is not magic. This is communication technology. What device or method did Yikon teach? What frequency or signal attracts these entities? The text does not specify the mechanism, but it describes the result. Humans gained the ability to initiate contact with non-human intelligences. Asbel taught humans evil counsel. What is evil counsel? The text suggests it is strategic knowledge, how to manipulate, how to deceive, how to wage psychological warfare. This is information warfare. Gadriel taught humans how to make weapons of death, the shield, the coat of mail, the sword for battle, and all the weapons of death. This is military technology. Kasdeja taught humans the striking of the embryo in the womb, which is abortion technology. He also taught the soul cutting of the serpent, which scholars interpret as either knowledge of poisons or knowledge of how to extract venom from snakes for weapons. Penamue taught humans writing, ink, and paper. This seems innocent until you realize that writing is information storage technology. Before writing, knowledge died with each generation. After writing, knowledge accumulates. Writing is the foundation of civilization, and according to the Book of Enoch, it was not invented by humans. It was taught to us by a fallen angel. Think about the implications. Every technology that separates humans from animals was given to us by these beings: metallurgy, weapons, writing, astronomy, medicine. We did not develop these things naturally over millions of years of evolution. We did not gradually figure them out through trial and error. We were taught. In a single generation or over a few generations, humans went from primitive hunter-gatherers to civilized beings with cities, writing, mathematics, and warfare. The archaeological record shows this sudden transition, and the Book of Enoch explains it. Technology transfer from advanced beings to primitive humans. Now, does any other ancient text describe the same thing? Yes. The Sumerian tablets describe the Anunnaki teaching humans every art and science. The Egyptian texts describe the gods Thoth and Osiris bringing knowledge to humanity. The Greek myths describe Prometheus stealing fire from the gods and giving it to humans. The Mesoamerican texts describe Quetzalcoatl teaching agriculture, writing, and astronomy. Every ancient culture has the same story. Beings from elsewhere descended and taught us. The Book of Enoch is just the most detailed, most explicit, most technically precise account of this event. And that is exactly why it was removed from the Bible. It makes it impossible to maintain the fiction that humans developed civilization independently. Here is what authorities do not want you to realize. If the fallen angels taught humanity forbidden technologies thousands of years ago, what technologies do we have today that came from the same source? Consider the 20th century. In the span of 100 years, we went from horse-drawn carriages to space travel, from no electricity to quantum computers, from telegraphs to the internet, from primitive medicine to genetic engineering. Does that seem like natural human progress to you? Or does it seem like another intervention, another transfer of technology from a non-human source? What if the fallen angels were never bound at all?
What if they have been among us the entire time, slowly, carefully, giving us knowledge piece by piece, always keeping us dependent, always controlling the pace of our development? The Book of Enoch ends with prophecies about the end times. Chapter 91 describes the future of humanity in what it calls the apocalypse of weeks. It divides history into 10 periods, each called a week, though the text makes clear these are symbolic, not literal weeks. The 7th week is described as a time when an apostate generation arises and its works are many. At the end of the 7th week, the righteous are chosen and given wisdom and knowledge.
The 8th week is described as a time when sinners are destroyed. The 9th week sees the destruction of evil and wickedness from the earth. The 10th week is the final judgment, when the fallen angels receive their eternal punishment and the new heaven appears. If we map this timeline to human history, where are we now? Many scholars argue we are in the 7th or 8th week, the period immediately before the final judgment. If that is true, then according to the Book of Enoch, we should expect several things: increased apostasy and corruption, the selection and empowerment of righteous individuals who receive special knowledge, and the imminent destruction of the wicked and the fallen angels. Does this align with current events? I will let you decide. What I know is this: the Book of Enoch was removed from the Bible deliberately. Church authorities in the 4th century read this text and decided it was too dangerous to include in the canon. For over 1,000 years, it was successfully suppressed in Western civilization. When it was rediscovered, instead of being celebrated as a recovered ancient scripture, it was marginalized and dismissed. Even today, most Christians have never read it. Most do not even know it exists. Those who do read it are often told by religious authorities that it is not inspired, not trustworthy, not truly scriptural, despite being written by a biblical patriarch, quoted in the New Testament, and preserved by an ancient Christian church. Why? Because the Book of Enoch reveals that angels are physical beings with technology. Because it explains that demons are the spirits of dead hybrids created by forbidden genetic manipulation. Because it describes the transfer of advanced knowledge from non-human entities to primitive humans. Because it names the specific fallen angels and details exactly what each one taught us. Because it provides clear, logical, detailed answers to questions that authorities prefer to keep mysterious. Because it empowers you to understand without needing intermediaries. Because it eliminates the monopoly on truth that religious institutions depend on. You now have knowledge that was deliberately hidden from humanity for over 1,500 years. You understand what the Book of Enoch actually says and why it was erased from the Bible. What you do with this knowledge is your choice. You can ignore it. You can dismiss it as ancient mythology. You can trust the authorities who banned it and believe they had good reasons. Or you can investigate further. You can read the Book of Enoch yourself. You can examine the evidence. You can compare it to other ancient texts. You can demand answers from institutions that have kept this information hidden. Subscribe to this channel if you want more investigations into suppressed scriptures, banned books, and hidden knowledge. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a revelation. Share this video immediately with everyone who deserves to know what they erased from the Bible. Because we are just beginning. There are more banned books, more suppressed texts, more hidden manuscripts, and all of them contain truths that authorities fear.
The question is, are you ready to know everything they tried to hide?